football, and everything in between, with in depth interviews from your favorite sports icons. Check out The Bench Meeting, hosted by Kenneth Bob, on Sundays from 4 to 5 p.m., only on WINN Media SKN.
A pleasant good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to the bench meeting on this gorgeous Wednesday afternoon, the 21st of March. And it's all the more so a good afternoon because of the results in North Song. But before we even begin to approach that, let me invite or introduce my guest. It's the second time he's joining me here, but we have shared commentary responsibilities for the recent matches for the SKNFA, and someone whom I've come to grow and respect a lot more in terms of his innate knowledge of all things sports, but more so St Kitts and Nevis football, Mr. LaShawn Dixon. LaShawn, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Bob. Thanks for having me again. I'm happy to be here again, and hopefully we could have an enjoyable time for the next hour.
Oh yes, I mean, as I said, it's a good way because I think you, like me, following what's going on in Antigua here.
Yeah.
And the West Indies are putting the squeeze on Sri Lanka, and
Yes.
this is Craig Brathwaite's his first
Well,
test as a captain.
Well, his first test
Well-
match since he officially became the captain. He's
Okay.
not standing captain this time. But
Right, that's correct, because he did do the stand-in captaincy for the Bangladesh win.
Yes.
And I mean, unfortunately, we don't have. I tried looking all over the TV for live coverage here in St Kitts, but
Flow Sports.
oh, it was only through Flow Sports.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I unfortunately couldn't pick it up, and yeah, it's exciting. It looks like West Indies are really turning a corner as it relates to their performances. I mean, you do have the home court advantage, but we have not really been so comfortably in charge of a test series in a long while. You know, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, it's a combination of some improvement from the West Indies team, but also it shows you how far Sri Lankan cricket has fallen in recent times. But we will take it all the same. West Indies doing well. We can't complain. I can't complain. at
Agreed.
least.
There's no reason for us to complain. The standout performance so far, or recently, the Pose captain actually, Mr. Jason Holder, he's bowled 16 overs, 6 of which are maidens, 25 runs at a run rate of 1.56 runs. He's really squeezing. That's less than 2 runs and over. And he's also quite disciplined. 2 wides, no balls, and he's taken 4 wickets. And the most recent 2 wickets actually was captured by Jason Holder. He's well supported by Kimar Roach, and he has up-to-date 14.5 overs, 1 maiden, 44 runs, not as economical, but still less than 3 runs and over, 2.97, 3 wickets. And he's been more disciplined in the sense that he's thrown down 0 wides and 0 no balls. In terms of the other bowling performances, because that's what we can commentate on, we have Rakeem Cornwall still defying the odds and throwing down 14 overs, 6 maidens, for 25 runs at a run rate of less than 2 runs and over. And he still picked up a wicket. And the wicketless bowlers are Sharon Gabriel, 9 overs, 2 maidens, 22 runs, a run rate of 2.44 runs per over. And you also have Alzari Joseph, whom has 11 overs, 2 maidens, 32 runs, a good economical run rate again at 2.91, and no wides and no balls. Sharon Gabriel had actually 3 wides. So Jason Holder and Sharon Gabriel are the ones that are counted for any extras so far. And as I said, without being able to watch it via live commentary and otherwise, this is a very, very encouraging start to what looks like a good West Indies team.
Yeah, it's a good start to the test series, the first day test series. You always want to put your best foot forward, and it's a good start for them. And especially coming off the wins in the T20 and the other series, This could go a long way if they could beat Sri Lanka across the 3 formats. We haven't seen that from West Indies team
Agreed.
in so long. So,
so I saw you mention, though, that Sri Lanka themselves have fallen a long way.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have their own internal struggles going on. And is it that they then do not rank as good competition for us right now? Or do you think that it could kind of serve as a marker for our turnaround?
Well, it's still good competition because I don't think West Indies are generally much better than them, but as you say,
Based on results?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, but it's a good indication. It's a step in the right direction for the West Indies to be able to beat the teams who would be around them in the ranking standpoint. So if West Indies could be the best of the bottom half of the table for in the Test Championship, that would be
at least it signals a sign of improvement.
Yes.
Now I want to challenge you a little bit. The Brathwaite captaincy decision.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it when it was brought up and made?
Before going to Bangladesh, Brathwaite's record as captain was terrible. He captained 5 Test matches up to that point, and he lost all 5.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, as a captain, he was too conservative. He captained the way he bats.
Okay.
Yes. So, and I thought it would have never worked out. But what I saw in Bangladesh, I saw an improved Craig Brathwaite. He was aggressive when he needed to be. He was conservative when he needed to be. He had a plan to left-handers. He had a plan to right-handers. He knew when to bowl Cornwall as opposed to Warwick. He knew when to bowl Warwick as opposed to Cornwall. He knew when to bowl himself as opposed to anybody else. So I was impressed with the way he went about it in Bangladesh. So if we are getting that version of Craig Brathwaite, I have no problem with the decision.
Well, judging from the first innings of this particular test against Sri Lanka, it seems like he is just as effective in terms of organizing his bowling attack and everything else. I mean, sometimes you really have to go through the worst in order to bring out the best. You know, maybe you went back, studied this game, studied the game a little bit more, and maybe bring in a different dimension of thinking toward the West Indies bowling and fielding, making the best use of what he has at his disposal. You know, so it's a good look for him. And it's a good feather in the cap for the CWI, knowing that they now are Mr. Skerritt is now going running again against. Let me get a bit more information here. Running against
Calvin Hope and I can't remember
the gentleman from Guyana.
Yes.
Sananzi, that's correct. So it is interesting that the turnaround is happening at this time, you know, as well too, in the sense that it almost seems as if it's an endorsement of the work that's because I've always been of the perspective that somebody comes into an organization to lead it, you still have to inherit and deal with what the problems that you've inherited. And it takes some time to do that and then be able to turn it around and shape what you want. And as vibrant and as Kishore Shallow, Dr. Kishore Shallow is, and as brilliant as Dr. Skerritt is, he's still limited in how much he can do within his first term. So it's good that at least, you know, he gets this little shot in the arm from at least as a condition one, and then in terms of I personally was not in favor of the predecessor. When that being said, Guyana cricket itself has not necessarily been its best over the last decade or so in terms of its administrative issues and everything else. So offering up a candidate from Guyana, to me, is not striking in the right chords, merely from the perspective of why are you offering yourself to West Indies cricket and your local board may do well with some effective leadership of its own. I don't know if you had any perspectives.
Well, I agree with you
wares
100%. I was elated when Skerrit was elected, more so because it got rid of Dave Cameron, and for all the good he did for West Indies cricket, Cameron, he had some ways about him that caused West Indies cricket to suffer in another sense.
Agreed.
But Skerrit, as you said, he inherited some issues. And I believe the biggest issue affecting West Indies cricket is finance and the lack of funding to do anything. And with the limited resources, as you see, we went to Bangladesh with a B team almost,
Yes,
and won that series. We are here with a team a bit stronger, and they are dominating. So it's moving in the right direction. And you see in the limited overs formats, under the leadership of Pollard, we see improvements there as well. It's just to fine-tune a few areas in each format, and then eventually it should all come together.
Agreed. And what I also like was the immediate appointment of the captain, of the coach.
Yes.
Phil Simmons, because for me, Phil understood West Indies cricket. Yep. And his record as a coach has always been a progressive one. I don't know him to coach any team and not carry it forward. And even after he left West Indies cricket, I think he went to Ireland and made a difference there. So it's good. When I also saw that the appointment of the coach was immediately done, and I don't know if it has not improved drastically. But now you are getting a lot more visibility and opportunities of players from the Leeward Islands and the Windward Islands. Even in the case of Cornwall, sometimes you may have your rationale as to whatever standards you wish to apply, and you may think these type of players, because of one, their belief, and two, their desire to play and represent West Indies and do their best, are there because they're able to go beyond what we think their capacities are, and that's the type of fight I think we need to see overall in West Indies cricket. And it's good to see that he's given the opportunity to continue this in this current desk here. And as I said, he trying to remember if he got a wicket so far.
Yes, he got
one.
Yes.
Yeah, for two less than
I think he got
innings.
the first one.
So he got the breakthrough.
Yes.
Brilliant. So overall, good going West Indies all around.
Yes, and as I said, Phil Simmons as the coach, he has a record of improving teams you don't expect. He has a record of performing with teams you don't expect to do well, and he always gets a tune out of teams.
Yes.
And it's amazing that after winning in the 2016 T20 World Cup, that he was given his marching orders.
Yeah.
I found that shocking.
Yeah, that was just...
And his record as even West Indies head coach, it's good considering what we've seen from the West Indies the last 25 years.
Exactly.
And so it's a building block. He may not be the one to take West Indies back to the promised land.
But at least he sets.
But he setting the foundation now for
the future.
For others to build on.
Now, next question: the T20 World Cup is later on this year.
Yes.
Do you think? Do you? I mean, everybody would say that West Indies, depending on the form and everything else, could win any tournament, especially if they're short format tournaments.
Yes.
But what do you think our prospects are for retaining the championship this year? Well,
I think they're good. Pollard as a leader, Pollard is a very aggressive captain, a very progressive captain. He sees the game before it plays out. He knows how to rotate his bowlers. He knows how to get the right field setting. We have the big hitters to get us out of a hole if we are getting to. We have youth, we have experience. The main concerns for me is the bowling, whether we could find a group of bowlers who could be tight, some with some wicket takers, some economical bowlers,
Yeah.
and also
We're missing a Sunil Narain.
yes,
as
yes,
well,
something
you
like
know?
that.
Yeah.
Yes, and for me, a bigger concern is singles. When the boundaries are not coming,
Right.
how do
Rotating the strike.
they? Yes.
Now, that has always been a concern for West Indies, but in truth and in fact, they've also never been short of boundaries.
yes, that too.
You know, I even remember the last World Cup final. There was a major concern coming down toward the last few overs because we were not getting the singles and everything else.
Yes.
And Carlos paid to everything.
Yes.
you know what I mean, in the penultimate over. So it's almost a thing where West Indians themselves or these batsmen themselves, when they back themselves to go out there and produce boundaries when challenged. And it's good to see that the confidence, if nothing else,
Yes.
on the T20 stage, the confidence has remained. And I mean, I don't know how effective, for example, Chris Gayle or Dwayne Bravo would necessarily be.
Well, I say for sure Bravo could play a big role.
Bravo would still,
especially with the ball, but Gayle.
No, but I still want to have him there.
Yes, me too.
You understand? I
Yes.
want to have somebody there who's been there, who's done that. You know what I mean? To be able to say, hey, ease up a little bit, or let me apply the pressure, or listen, you know, watch this particular bowler. And then he's familiar with the Indian pitches as well too.
Yes.
You know, so I almost want him there as a player coach, but you also know that he still has the capacity to give you at least one, two big games, and in a cup format, you're only playing 5 or 6 games at most, 7. You know, to get to a final a final. So if he give us 3 good ones and they're the right good ones, then you know, I mean, it could be ones to take us where we need to go. So it's good. I like you said, I like the mix of youth and experience going in, and the there's a good prospect for them retaining. India would probably be their closest competition as per usual.
Yes.
There's always a lot of hoopla around Australia and
I don't
England.
see Australia. Probably England. England have a good limited overs setup. So probably England.
But whenever they butt up the boys,
Yes.
so the Caribbean is always, you know what I mean. So if it is that they do it, it's because they didn't have to meet us along the way in the knockout rounds.
Yes.
You know, because they really don't like us.
But a team to look out for as well is New Zealand. They are always they're a good tournament team as well.
You can't take your eyes off.
So you can't
them,
take your eyes off.
You can't take your eye off for them black hats at all. Them fellas and them crazy. Yeah, the black caps. All right. So yeah, are we gonna keep an eye on? It's actually end of innings now. I don't know if you got the final update as I did. It's actually end of innings with Sri Lanka being bowled out in the first innings on the third session of the first day in 69.4 overs. Total score 169 for 10. I can give you the batting figures with Dimuth Karunatni. How are you doing? No, I want to do it properly. Karunaratne. He's the captain. He went for 12 runs. Lahiru Thiramani went for 70. He was the top scorer of the innings. He was bowled by Holder. Osharo Fernando, he was run out by Brathwaite for 4 runs. Dinesh Chandimal, he was caught De Silva, wicketkeeper De Silva, bowled by Holder for 4 runs. Danajaya De Silva was bowled by Kimar Roach, for 13 runs. Pathum Nisanka was caught Holder, bowled Roach for 9 runs off 12 deliveries. Niroshan Dikwela was caught Cornwall, bowled Holder for 32. He was the second highest scorer for Sri Lanka in this innings. Stood out there for a while too, both himself and Thiramani. They both seem to have had a long partnership together. 2 wickets for Sri Lanka. 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 76 balls and 180 balls for Thirimani. And then you had Suranga Lakmal. He was caught Brathwaite bowl holder for 3. Dushmantha Shamira he was bowled by Kimar Roach for 2. And Lasith, wow, this one is tough. Lasith Mbuldinia, he was LBW bowl holder for 3. And Vishwa Fernando not out on 1. Please don't ask me to run through those names again. But needless to say, the top scorer was Thirimani, who scored 70 runs off 180 deliveries, 4 fours, at a scoring rate of 38.89. Second highest scorer was Tequila. He made 32 off 76 deliveries with 2 boundaries and a scoring rate of 42.11. So definitely not a good batting showing from any of the Sri Lankan batsmen here except Thirimani, and they got a lot of work to do to get back into this game. Now, let's talk some football.
Yes.
Real football. We were supposed to be awaiting Andre to call in. I should have mentioned as well. Andre Huey is supposed to call in and join our discussion at some point. So maybe we can hold off on the local football up until the point. If he doesn't, then we will kind of just pick it up and move with it from there. But we had FA Cup action in the English Football League today, and maybe you could give the audience a bit of a rundown, because my team did not perform at all.
Well,
and I really don't like to give them kind of scores. But I'll help you where necessary.
Well, Leicester City defeated Manchester United 3-1. In the other game, Chelsea, my team, won 2-0 at home to Sheffield United. So it will be Man City versus Chelsea in the semi-finals, and Leicester versus Southampton in the other semi-final.
Oh, wow. So Manchester United spurred an opportunity to go
yes,
into the semi-final. And Aston Villa playing Spurs now.
Yep.
Spurs are actually up 1-0 with their only opportunity to win anything now, having been dumped out of the Europa League during the course of the week there on Thursday.
That's the Premier League, though.
Right.
That's the Premier League, yes.
Right. But they were dumped out of. I'm saying Tottenham was dumped out of the Europa League on Thursday.
Yes.
So their only opportunity to win any kind of cup is in the FA Cup right now.
No, that's not the FA Cup. That's the Premier League.
Oh, this is a Premier League match?
Yes. They already out the FA Cup.
Yes, because you gave me the semi-final.
Yes.
The semi-finalists. Chelsea versus City. So who are you calling to win that?
Well, I can't go against Chelsea, the farm there. But as we all know, Manchester City, they are no slouch. They're well coached. They have a system. They are a very deep side. They want to win everything. But I won't go against. I won't go against Chelsea.
I actually think that you also have a very good chance of facing them again in the Champions League final.
Yes.
I don't see Liverpool being ready to face you on current form. If they're successful
against Real Madrid,
and I don't see Real Madrid
No.
being able to hold you off either.
Because if Atletico was the best La Liga had to offer, and
Yes.
Chelsea disposed them
Yes.
quite easily, I don't see
how
any, Real Madrid.
Yeah. And Liverpool right now, I think they've kind of shut down for the remainder of the season.
Yes.
They've resigned their fate. I think they're going to try and fight for the Premier League to try and ensure they're in the Champions League.
Yeah, top four. That would be the aim.
That would be a sensible aim for them.
Yes.
Given the fact that I think they know that they're not going to be able to do anything further on the Champions League level, especially with their more recent performances. Manchester United also
Europa League should
advance in the Europa League, and in my opinion, they themselves and Arsenal themselves even more than Arsenal, but themselves and Arsenal are favourites to with the Europa League. I don't particularly consider that a trophy of any
No,
real
no.
value to me. But everybody is saying that it will make the difference for Ole, and it will turn the team into winners for next season. I am not one who shares that great optimism.
Neither do I.
I think in terms of the teams that are going through a rebuilding process, I think Chelsea at this point looks the best. But
Yep.
Tuchel has not yet hit his ceiling yet. He's not had his he's not had his first bump. Let me put it
Yes,
this way.
yes.
He's not had
I
his
get what
first
you're
bump yet for the season.
And I
Let me
agree.
see how you handle your adversity before I could tell you.
Yeah, and
whether
I
or not.
agree. I agree with you. He's yet to lose a game. He's only been behind once since he took over. For the Chelsea game. He hasn't been beaten, conceded 2 goals in 15 games.
Yep.
So it's been an easy ride for him thus far. But we all know in European football, it only lasts for a short while. When you hit the block, it could go. All the good work you do now
Could just go
yes.
in one game.
Yes.
In one game. But I think he has something to prove on the European level.
Yes.
Which tells me that they're going to be a dangerous prospect.
Yes.
I also think that Pep is laser focused on the
I think he wants that more than anything.
else
Yes.
on the Champions League, and I don't know whether it's. I think any of the two, whether Bayern Munich or PSG, if either of the two that come up against him, I think he has enough to unpick them. I don't know what your opinions are there.
Well, for PSG, I don't think they are as deep as they were last season when they got to the final. And losing Tuchel for Pochettino. Pochettino, who never won anything as a coach, and to replace and losing Tuchel. But Bayern Munich, I believe, will be the biggest test for City on the other side of the bracket, that side of the bracket. But I still don't believe Bayern Munich, they're at the fluent best as they were when they won it last year. I don't think they are. I think they have a weakness defensively more so.
Yes. I tend to believe. I think they're older.
Yes,
they're
that
slower.
too. But I think I don't think they're the force to be reckoned with that they were.
Yes, and I think Pep has already hit his brick wall for the season.
Yes.
You know, when the season started, there was a lot that he stumbled a few times,
Yeah, it was
a few
really- yeah,
draws.
so sad,
The
yes.
defense needed sorting out. There were a lot of question marks. I think since they have gotten past that into the new year, they have kicked on and they look like a well-oiled machine, not just on form, but in terms of just overall
Yes.
consistency of churning out results.
Yes.
With the exception, of course, of when it came to the Battle of Manchester.
Yeah.
You know, but I think he in his mind also knew, hey, I could afford to lose the Battle of Manchester and still win the entire thing, because he's up to 12 points ahead.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
Yeah, not
unbothered
really-
really.
yeah.
He will like to win the game, but I don't think it will bother him.
No,
to
you know,
lose
I
that.
think it meant more to the United team
Yes.
than it certainly did to him, especially the result. And you know, it's just interesting to see that yeah, they went through their dry spell, as it were. I think Liverpool. I keep saying that Liverpool's issue, their biggest issue, is that they did not prepare for this second season. They did not reinforce,
Yes.
and they did not rotate enough, and that's almost the identical mistake that Ole is making. The only difference is that Ole not winning anything.
Yes. But with Liverpool, I thought Liverpool they missed the plot when they lost Van Dijk and when they lost Joe Gomez and the other centre back. They could have brought in a centre back on January 1.
Yes.
But they waited till the very end,
and they brought in some
two young centre back, two young and proven centre backs. I thought they missed the plot. They could have gotten at least an experienced centre back and a young one.
But from the summer, they should have reinforced properly.
Yes,
they did not reinforce properly, and then they're under pressure.
And that's the difference with Alex Ferguson teams and this Liverpool team, because Alex Ferguson would strengthen when he was on top.
Yes.
Well, most other teams, rather not just Liverpool, they wait till they fall off the perch to strengthen. Yeah.
But I'm not in any way complaining. If they continue that in this form into the next season, I wouldn't be too unhappy either.
Yes,
all right, we have Andre Huey on the line with us. And as I said, we would have discussed a little bit of our local football. Andre is now is one of the senior sports reporters and overall news reporters on Ireland. But it's been interesting to work along with him over the past few months in the commentary box. So welcome, Andre.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we said we would have held off on the local Premier League discussions and the team selection process and the games coming up against Puerto Rico and the Bahamas in the World Cup qualifiers. And as we said, the best persons to have this kind of discussion with in terms of the SKNFA and Premier League games in particular would be those sitting in the commentary box and persons like yourself who manage in the process.
Yes.
So how has the start of, because remember we have these COVID restrictions, and I think the dependency on the commentary, the live coverage and commentary has become even greater for the start of this season. How has that affected how has the start been, and how have you seen what improvements have you seen, and what things you've noted that are major difference from before?
Well, yeah, as you rightfully said, the broadcast, the stream has become even more important now than ever, because it's the only way most people get to see the games. Of course, you have team officials who are allowed in the stadium with the teams who are in the stadium, and you get a little noise still in the stadium, but not as much as you would have if fans were allowed to enter the stadium. So yes, the stream has become extremely important, and we partnered with the SNFA to bring the broadcast. Since the start of the season, actually, the broadcast has been free of cost. Of course, it's not going to be like that forever. There is going to be a cost. There's going to be a pay-per-view in the not-too-distant future. But what we've done over the last few weeks, the last month and a half of the league so far, is to sort of test our capabilities. We've been broadcasting it. We've been troubleshooting, ensuring that issues that we would have had and some of the technological issues we would have had previously, that those have been ironed out. And I'm happy to say that for the large part, not only have we ironed out those issues, we've actually improved the broadcast by leaps and bounds in terms of the presentation. We've managed to introduce statistics, which is something that never existed before, where at halftime and at post-game you can actually get the stats, the most important stats of the matches, such as fouls, offsides, goals, the number of shots taken, number of shots on target. And this is actually useful information even for the teams, because the teams now can look at this even in their training session and say, well, look, guys, we need to improve in certain areas. And that starts to tell a vast story. I mean, just last week, for example, we were on the commentary of the Keon match. I think it was Keon versus Newtown. Mm-hmm. And it is clear to see, even from the stats, Keon dominated the match for the most part.
Yes.
And luckily for them, they were able to come from behind and win the game. So, that kind of information, really helps the viewer at home to know how their team is doing when they're watching a game, because now they actually have match stats. It's not just the number of goals scored in a game or who is leading or who is not. But you can now see more detailed stats. Instant replay, that's something we've introduced last year. And it can only get better. It will only get better because we have some new initiatives, some new technology that we're going to be introducing in the games in the not too distant future. So as people watch the game, they're going to see a vast improvement in the delivery of the broadcast.
They're looking at a little drone technology in there too.
Yeah, a little bit, but we'll tease people a little bit. We're going to have a little drone. We're actually going to be, and I could just say, not without going into too much details, but one of the things we intend to do is to sort of change our angle. We intend to have a much better aerial shot of the matches itself.
Yeah.
We already identified how we're going to do it. We're just, working on acquiring the technology to allow us to do that. Aside from that, one of the things we want to do, and we're looking to do, is to introduce multiple angle replay. So in other words, instead of seeing the same angle in the replays, you're looking to see different angles or different shots of the replay. So that's something that's going to take some time. I know recently you would have spoken to the General Secretary of the SKNSA, who pointed out, Mr. Stanley Jacobs, who pointed out rightly that this is a very expensive venture. It's not cheap.
Okay, agreed.
And it's not something, you may be getting free of cost now, but it comes at a cost. So a lot of the technologies and the improvements we're talking about is going to, involve a cost. So we're hoping that, in a few weeks' time, we'll be able to introduce that and be able to cover the cost to bring that to the time.
Okay. In terms of, let me ask you a bit of a technical question now, as football related. I guess you or LaShawn perhaps could fit. In terms of the quality of the matches being played, have you noticed an overall improvement or more of the same thus far? I mean, it's early season. Most teams only just, and it was not. It was a very quick turnaround, so there's not a lot of training could have gone into, let's say, the first 2 matches or so. But up to this point, how has the quality of what we're seeing on the field now been looking like?
Well, I must say that I'm pleasantly surprised with how the season started this season, in the sense that the usual suspects that you would expect to see at the top of the table are not at the top of the table.
Okay.
St. Paul's is there and thereabouts. I don't think we've seen St. Paul's into high gear just yet.
Right.
They did have a disruption in the sense that they had a match that they were to play that was forfeited eventually. They got the points, but, you still want to see them play to determine how good they are.
Yes.
I would venture to say, though, that I think St. Paul's is even stronger this season than they were last season as the defending champion. And simply on the acquisition of Vince Nelson. We'll talk about that later. Generally, though, I've been pleasantly surprised in terms of how they have started, because the teams that you least expect to be at the top of the table or thereabouts are not only challenging, but they're playing really good football. I'm talking about teams like St. Peter's. They were shooing into the playoffs last season, and they've started the season off on a really high note, which explains why they're at the top of the table, even though on goal different. Then you have a team like Old Road Jet. And I shouldn't be surprised with the kind of improvements we're seeing with Old Road, because we've kind of seen inkling of it last season. They were very close to making the playoffs. They were just basically a match away from making the playoffs, and they just fell short. And you got the impression that you're not seeing the last of Old Road after their performance last season. And so they've started the season off in a very high note. They're certainly not a team to expect. Normally, you would say Old Road is a team you're guaranteed 3 points if you're a Village or St. Paul's or Connery or one of those big teams. No, it's not a shoo-in. It's not a given. You have to fight to the very end if you're going to beat Old Road. So, from that standpoint, I'm somewhat pleasantly surprised with the kind of input we're seeing from the teams that are, for the most part, not considered, necessarily big teams per se. I must also put in a plug in for Spurs as well. Spurs have been playing really good football. They've only lost 1 match so far. The other games, they've really taken it to their opponent. And even Coach Deco Huggins himself is pleased with the kind of play that he's getting from his team. Their last match, I think it was a game. Who was it they played last? I don't recall the team they played, but they were able to go in at halftime, come back out in the second half, and somewhat change their strategy going into the game. And it changed the game totally. They were able to get that go-ahead goal and held on to that lead to win the match. So, and that was, of course, based on the strategy, the change of strategy for the second half. So you're seeing teams they're being more strategic. They're playing, more to their strength, and they're changing when they need to. It's not like, well, you're accustomed to seeing a team play a certain way, that they're going to play that way right throughout the match. If they need to adjust, they make the necessary adjustment.
Agreed.
On the downside, though, I must note that the teams that have been promoted so far, and it's still early days, but they have been a disappointment so far. We're talking about teams like DA, that this is not their first time in the Premier League. They've been there before, like 4 years ago. And it seemed as if it's the same story in the sense that they were, they've been given, they've been losing some really lopsided matches. They are pushing ahead. They are trying to score goals, and they've scored, I think, 3 goals so far for the season. But at the same time, they're conceding far too many. I mean, in excess of 24 goals already in the season, and we're just starting. So that, I think, is probably a downside. There's still a gap between Division 1 and the Premier League. When teams get promoted, it's almost a yo-yo effect. They get promoted and they get relegated the following season. So that's, we have not seen a change in that yet. But generally, I think the formative play from the various teams have improved.
Agreed. Well, I was about to, and maybe LaShawn could add on to this. I was about to suggest, when you had mentioned the teams like Spurs and St. Peter's, whom have kicked on from last season, it's almost an argument for the Super Six and its effectiveness, because those were the 2 teams who made up the part of the Super Six, and maybe that taste,
of the six,
Super Six. And maybe that taste of excellence it allows them to now have something to build on to try and do a little better than they did last time around.
Yes,
yeah, without a doubt. And I think, especially when you consider that both St. Peter's and Spurs, especially Spurs, if they had held their nerve and won that game against St. Peter's, they would have been assured to the finals.
Yes.
Considering that they got, results at the end towards the tail end of the playoffs that were critical to determining the final spot.
Agreed.
So they would have been in the finals with St. Paul had they defeated St. Peter's and not allowed St. Peter's to come back in the last 2 minutes of the game to win the match. So I think those disappointments, kind of ring in their heads, and they come into the season with a much different mindset. So they have been playing. I mean, Spurs have been quite impressive, very impressive. And to add to that, they've also boosted their squad, because they've got the Hanley brothers back in their squad, in Kiran and Tishan, and they have been, powerful in the strike force. So they are going to add to what Spurs already have. And I think also one of the things that Spurs suffered from last season a lot was scoring goals. They were creating chances, but they weren't scoring goals. So I think with those 2 Hanley brothers in the lineup, they may very well get the goals that they've been lacking and missing all of last season, and that might just push them over the edge. So I expect some good things from Spurs, and so far we're seeing some good things from them.
Well, in terms of scoring goals, St. Peter's is a team that's scoring goals. LaShawn?
Yes, and I agree with Andre that Spurs has impressed me the most of all the teams in the Premier Division thus far. Them and Saddlers. And Saddlers is a team we haven't mentioned as yet. But
Agreed.
Saddlers have improved leaps and bounds to start the season. But Spurs and St. Peter's, for me, they're the 2 teams I see as dark horses to St. Paul's. I still believe St. Paul's is the best team, the better team in the competition. But St. Peter's, they have experience. They have goal scorers in Harris and the other one. His name is not coming. Simmons. Yes, they're still to welcome back Net's son. He's a striker as well who gets goals in the Premier Division.
Is Tiquan?
Tijan,
yes.
Yeah.
They even got back Zidane from St. Paul.
Zidane from St. Paul is a big plus.
Acquisition.
Tiquan Tyrrell.
Yeah, Tiquan Tyrrell.
They have a good goalkeeper now. That's a
major difference.
Big incentive, a big plus for them.
Yes.
So I think they're a team to look out for. But as Andre said, I've been most impressed with Ghana Hotspurs. They look a different side. They look like a footballing side now. They don't look like coming into a game and hoping to do well. They look like they're coming into a game
to win,
knowing that they will do well and knowing that they will win. But it's still early days. Early days. And as I said, Saddlers, the team I were impressed with. They had a slip up in their last game against Canary. You'd have expected them to be beating Canary, considering Canary's issues and the farm Saddlers had coming into the game. But they dropped the ball on that one. But hopefully it doesn't affect their season that much. But as it relates to the quality of the league, I think it's pretty much the same, maybe a little better. But I think there are around 8 or 9 teams. It's 8 or 9 teams strong, definitely. The 6 from the Super Sixes last year, and you consider Old Road and Sadlers, their improvements this season, as well as Newtown, who for some parts of the season have looked better, but they're still lacking an X-factor player. They're still having to rely too much on the likes of Ian Rumpy Lake and those guys who are a bit older now in age.
Yeah.
But they look an improved side, and as Andre said, the other 3 they have left a lot to be desired, especially Deep Bay conceding the amount of goals they have. Bath, while they have looked good defensively, going forward they're too one-dimensional and too easy to predict what they're gonna do. Trying to get running Mayors use his pace against slow players, but they can improve there. Trafalgar, they have remained competitive in some games, but often seem to lose it around the 68th minute or so.
Fitness seems to be a big issue with them.
Yes, so if it's, as Andrew said,
and DFB is just not ready for this league.
No.
DFB,
well, they have to do better defensively if they are to.
I even watched the goalkeeper that they had fielded against Sadlers. I think it was when he conceded 8 goals or something of the sort. He wasn't ready for football. He's not. Yes. I mean, yes, I understand teams have struggles but if you're going to commit yourself to this, then your fitness level needs to be such that at the very least, if somebody kicks a ball to the immediate right or left, you could collapse and collect. Yeah. But beyond just individual players, I think you're correct in saying that the quality that you would see from the likes of your top 9 right now, and I would even say 7, because Connery, I'm yet to really see enough of them to make a proper assessment. I think they got lucky with the one over Sadlers, like you mentioned. Otherwise, they're forfeiting a game and everything else. They're still tied on points with Keon and Old Road, but I think that's by virtue of default. So it's good for them in the sense that they're still in the discussion, but not good in the sense that I think that they need whatever needs to be sorted out, they need to get sorted out. Newtown actually 3 points behind on 4. So for all the good, they have been looking good. Like you're saying, 3 goals for 4 games is not a good conversion rate at all. And at the same time, you're conceding 6. So you're conceding 2, or an average of 2 a game, and you're not able to put in 1 a game. So that tells us that you're very fortunate to even have 1 a game, because I'm assuming the game you won, you probably win by a 1-0, 2-1 kind of score line.
1-0 against Bath. Yeah, they won the game 1-0.
The 1-0, right. And Bath, I saw they had a draw against Connery.
Yes.
And as you realize, they got a 1-0. So they obviously not far away, but they just, like you said, maybe too one-dimensional, not there yet.
Yes. If they could get goals, if they could find a way to get goals, there'll be a lot more dangerous prospect.
Okay. And in terms of, if you could just switch the conversation a little bit, Andre, you've been following the team that we just saw leave to go to, I think it's the Dominican Republic, and they'll be playing Puerto Rico and the Bahamas there.
Yes.
What do you think of our prospects, given the team that's been fielded? Because there are a number of overseas-based players and a few local players. New coach, I had an interview with him last week. Very good one. Very intelligent gentleman, has a lot of ideas, and I think he knows how he wants the team to play. What do you think of our chances?
I think our chances are pretty good. When you consider that Puerto Rico was a side that we beat here in the Nations League not too long ago. The Bahamas, they have still not really, I mean, even with the Nations League, we haven't seen any vast, at least I haven't seen any vast improvement in the Bahamas team. This is, the same, the rake and scrape boys as they call themselves. in the previous World Cup qualifiers, where they struggled against the bigger teams. I think generally, though, we can't go to the DR expecting that we're just going to go there and just get the point.
Agreed.
Because there's something about the reputation of St Kitts and Nevis in football, where teams are very wary of us. They don't take us for granted.
Agreed.
I'll give you a good example. When the Nations League was launched in 2017 or 2018, I was at the launch in Miami, and just about every delegation I spoke to, whether it be or I've interviewed, whether it be Guyana or I think even Suriname. I remember doing an interview with the representative from Suriname, and he said to me, "Look, we know St Kitts and Nevis. We've been watching you guys, and we are not taking St Kitts and Nevis for granted. So if we were to get a draw with St Kitts and Nevis there, we're going to come with our guns blazing, essentially." So they know that we have overseas-based players in our squad. They know that we've done some exploits. And this was around the time when St Kitts and Nevis, I think, was above 100 in the ranking.
Yes.
You know, we're not going to get an easy road. Whoever we play, they're going to come, you know, with their best squad, with their best effort, because they know that St Kitts and Nevis is a team on the up. As it pertains to Mr. Neva, the coach, I had the chance to interview him when he first was announced as the new coach. And you're right. You know, he seems to know. You know, has some great ideas. He seems to know what he's about. He has a really good resume when you consider that he also coached in the Caribbean before. So this is not like his first
Jamaica. Yep.
coaching in the Caribbean, which is good because he understands more or less the culture of the region in terms of football.
Yes.
I think he also understands the challenges we have because you know we don't have a lot of resources, and not just money. We're talking also about facilities.
Yes.
So I mean, one of the first challenges he pointed out was the difficulty he was going to have getting training time with the guys because of the fact that Warner Park is so utilized. So it's going to be a challenge nonetheless, but I think what I like, though, Bob, is the fact that he's almost at all the Premier League games.
Yes.
It's the first time in a long time we've actually had a coach, an overseas, coach, who's actually based here, who can actually watch the players play, watch the games, take notes, take videos, take shots. So he knows the play. He's getting to know the player.
Yes.
And, if this continues, we can only get better because then he will be able to impart his knowledge on what he sees on the field and be able to pick his squad from that. Yeah,
in my interview, he actually said that he likes the methodology of using almost like a football academy to be able to develop the youngsters up to a long, and that's his reputation. Based on his resume, he would go to a country, whether it be a club side, mostly club sides, and he starts at the academy level and then elevates the team based on his vision and what he wants them to do. LaShawn, what are your thoughts on the team selection in terms of the overseas based players versus the locally based players and how that went?
Well, it has a good mix of overseas and locally based players, but I like our chances in these two games, especially considering that I believe we should be able to handle both these teams. But my biggest concern is that the home game will be played at a neutral venue, and then you're having to go to the Bahamas to play the away leg. It won't be easy. It won't be easy playing in unknown circles.
So it's not really home.
No, it's not. It's a home game in name, but
given the restrictions of COVID,
yes,
I don't think the home advantage is as obvious now as maybe in other times. Yeah.
No. Well, as it relates to fans, yes, I agree, but. Played in a stadium, you understand.
Okay.
Every
ticket,
corner, it would be easier. But as I said, given the circumstances, I could understand, and I still believe that I still like our chances. For lack of a better, I still like our chances, but it won't be easy still.
Yeah, it's not going to be a walk. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
They still have to go there and earn those 3 points.
Yeah. Well, but it's not. I give us a really and truly. I give us a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 chance of progressing beyond this. I'm a little less confident as we advance. But definitely at this level, at this stage, I think we should be able to manhandle
Yes,
both
the
teams.
group itself, I think, is a winnable group when you consider the problems Trinidad and Tobago has
Yes,
had.
yes.
And Guyana not being known so much for
But don't
football.
sleep on them either.
Yes, but I think it's a good opportunity, a good chance for us to win the group. And considering the strength of the team, I believe we can progress beyond this stage of the competition. As I said, my concerns is the new coach, how he will get
How quickly he can get everybody
to
adapted.
gel.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I like our chances.
All right. Any further thoughts on the big larger group, Andre, and our prospects there?
Yeah, I agree, LaShawn. When you consider again, Trinidad, as you pointed out, they have their challenges, and Guyana, except for the really good run they had in, I believe, in the last qualifier. This is not the same squad, it's not the same team. So, a
And
lot
not the
can
same
work
coach, I
in
don't
our
believe.
favor. I really do like our chances, but I do also make the point, as LaShawn rightfully pointed out, that the coach, is still, he's still new. He's still getting to know the players. He still didn't have enough time, in my view, to prepare them adequately enough for the qualifiers. But those challenges aside, I still think we have a squad that can at least get us some results from these games. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a really good chance. And also when you consider, and I must make this point, that we didn't have a really good Nations League run the last time around. I think the team performed below its potential, and we had opportunities to progress, and even had the chance to go in the playoffs and to compete in the Gold Cup. So with that said, with that disappointment now in the rearview mirror, I think we should build on this and try to make do or make up for the disappointment of not being.
Yeah, but I do think this team is a lot stronger than that team that played the.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
And also, one of the concerns Coach Neva indicated to me is that the lack of practice matches, that they were really good practice matches, while Puerto Rico and the Bahamas, I think, arranged practice matches amongst themselves and neighboring countries. But I think that was the reason for the inclusion of so many overseas-based players, because at least they would have been playing regularly up to this point somewhat and training at a higher level at this point, so that the fitness levels required for both of these matches, that would be what they would be bringing and contributing. And then we would just add in the local stars who may have been pushed, now beginning to get into form, into stride, as it were, given the start to the new season was only a few weeks ago.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Andre. That's our time here overall. Thanks again, and we're gonna pick up another review of our sports situation locally here when the team arrives, and hopefully we could get you in studio again, and as well as LaShawn, and we could pick up all things sports, because I was telling LaShawn that I'm also following the West Indies game, and they're now 8 without loss after 7 overs. Not a lot of time. Well, I mean, there's a lot of sun, so I'm not sure how many more overs they're going to bowl again for the rest of the day. Given Sri Lanka bowls 70, you're looking at 10, 15 overs, depending on the light, maybe. But yeah, West Indies looking good. So there's a lot for us to talk about, and it's always good to catch up with you. And thanks a lot for signing in today. LaShawn,
No problem. Thanks.
Thank you very much for being here. It's always very interesting to share our perspectives, as is usual. And I want to thank the listeners for tuning in to the bench meeting this evening. And we look forward to hearing from you again in the very near future, as soon as next week, Sunday. So take care to everyone.
Okay. My pleasure.
All right. And then from here in studio, we're going to say good afternoon to one and all. And yeah, thank you for being with us. I here just focused on this West Indies game and trying to see if there's any further updates. 8 without loss. Craig Brathwaite on 1, John Campbell on 6, and then we would following from there. Update from the Spurs. You're watching the Spurs versus Villa match? Oh, that's the old one. You sure that's not today? It's live, man.
Yeah,
Premier
yes,
League,
Premier
2-0.
League,
Yeah.
yeah.
Harry Kane, 68th. Yeah. So, yeah, quick update. Spurs versus that. Oh, that was the game that was postponed.
Yeah.
Oh, so Spurs finally. Oh, okay. Harry Kane and Cardiff. And then, as I said, West Indies on top in their test match against Sri Lanka. And we're signing out from the bench meeting. I want to wish one and all a pleasant good afternoon.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
To avoid getting the coronavirus, remember to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently before